talking Drew Brees. You guys just seen the video, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, last moments. Hey, Adam, I know you're connected strong with the Saints. You've been rooting for them since I don't know how old. I'm diehard fan. Tell me what Drew Brees meant to the city of New Orleans.
Obviously, man, Drew Brees was everything to the city. When we got decimated by Katrina in 2005, I mean, all the hope was lost. There was no telling what the city was going to do. I mean, everything was underwater. Everything was terrible. The people were sleeping in the dome, like the Saints were on the road. They were 3-13. It was crazy, man. But when Drew Brees showed up, and this is what really establishes Drew Brees into that greatest of all time conversation, because he wasn't your big guy. Like, we know about the height, we know about the weight, we know about the arm. But the thing is, like, the Saints was not an attractive job. Like, he easily could have said, hell no.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go to New Orleans. We were the laughing stock of the league. Sean Payton was not Sean Payton. He was like a disciple of Bill Parcells. He was with the Cowboys, so he wasn't like the boy genius that he is now. So it was almost like when he got to New Orleans, there was just, he brought the energy with him. And what I mean by that is, you look at the first game back in the Dome, when Steve Gleason blocked the punt against the Falcons. That was the first game back in the Dome. The Saints win that game. I think we blow the Falcons out. That's the year we go to the NFC title game and get wiped by the Bears. But Brees arriving in New Orleans just gave us hope overall for the city, and especially for the game of football. You see him with the Brees Dream Foundation, donating money during COVID. Him and his wife are always very active in the community. And obviously when he won the championship and brought everything back to New Orleans, that was huge for the city. Drew Brees he might be the most important person in New Orleans of all time, man, considering what he did for the city, considering what he did for the Saints, and overall the mark that he's left of his legacy. So Drew Brees was, of course, absolutely everything to the city, man.
Absolutely, Adam. Great breakdown. Most passing yards ever for a quarterback. You got a guy who most 5,000-yard passing seasons.
Yep.
Won a Super Bowl, got that ring, got the MVP in the Super Bowl as well too. We thought potentially they could get more, but here's my Drew Brees story for you, man. I remember you speaking on it wasn't the most attractive job. I remember when everybody wanted Culpepper. Remember? Because Drew
exactly. Sean Payton didn't even want the job, man. There was an interview with Sean Payton. Sean Payton did not want the job. He wanted the Packers job. But when Mickey Loomis called him and he said, hey, bro, the Packers are going to hire Mike McCarthy. Like, true story. This is on tape. Like, it's somewhere in the NFL throwback, NFL film, something. Sean Payton did not want the job. So the fact that Payton and Brees came to the city knowing that it was ugly. It was probably the most unattractive playing and coaching position in the league, and they chose there. So
absolutely.
Just alluding to what you said there, man.
And that's the thing about Drew Brees, not the biggest guy in the world. When he got hurt in San Diego, there was a feeling that his career was over. There was a feeling that Drew Brees was done. So great inspirational story to these quarterbacks out here who maybe aren't the biggest, or you have a huge injury. Players, period. You see it in the league all the time. A player gets injured. They only play like 8 games or they miss a whole season. And then the value just goes down. And in these general managers' minds, they're done. Yep. They're over with. So Drew Brees, he's one of those guys we could look back at his career and say, you know what? He was that guy who just reinvented his career. He reinvented his career. And for the Saints moving forward, man, let's talk about Sean Payton. How much does this affect Sean Payton? I know this wasn't on the question list, but them coming in around that time, they had that big-time relationship. They were just so close.
Right.
What does this mean to Sean Payton as he continues to coach the Saints, and Drew Brees is in retirement now?
Right. Well, I think definitely the culture of Drew Brees still sticks around in New Orleans. I mean, Sean Payton, ever since he's been a head coach, Drew Brees has been his starting quarterback in week 1, and it's never been different. So going into the next year, it is going to be different for Sean. It is going to be different for the team, but the culture of Drew Brees is still going to be there. The leadership, he has probably already handed that baton off to a DeMario Davis, to a Cam Jordan, to a, maybe a Michael Thomas or a Alvin Kamara, someone that's got to be that guy that's in the huddle, hyping you up, telling you to keep your head up after you might let a play slip or whatever it may be. That culture is still going to be there. And as far as Sean Payton, it is going to be interesting because you wonder, is it going to be Taysom Hill, who they just gave a real fake deal to? It's not as much as it seems, everybody. And then you have Jameis Winston as well with the 1 year, $12 million. So you're wondering which direction they're going to go in because, like I said, now that you're not having Drew Brees out there, in week 1 starting for you, you got a guy in Taysom Hill who can definitely be I'm not going to say a top quarterback. I almost slipped and said that. I do not mean that at all. I think he has the qualities to be a dual threat quarterback that can be partially dominant today in the NFL. He just needs his time. He needs to be in the system. And if you go look at the raw tape, the eyes will tell you that the man can play football. And with Jameis Winston, it's also interesting because this is a point I want to bring up, and some people don't realize this. The first few years in Drew Brees' career, I think it's like the first 4 or 5 years in Brees' career compared to the first 4 or 5 years in Jameis Winston's career, the numbers are pretty identical. Then Drew Brees got with Sean Payton, cleaned it up. Drew Brees was Brees because of Payton, and Payton was Payton because of Drew. So the marriage there, it's definitely going to be missed, but Drew was there for so long. I think that culture is going to be there forever, man. There's no question about that.
Let's talk about Taysom Hill, which you described to be a fake deal, 4 years, $140 million. From the way I read it and the way it's described to me is that they could cut him, void the contract after the second season with no dead cap. How do you view this contract? You're looking at a guy who was 3-1 as a starter, 9 rushing touchdowns, 4 touchdowns thrown, only 2 interceptions. There was some success you guys had under him. How do you feel about Hill's contract?
So, like I was mentioning, Taysom Hill's contract, 4 years, $140 million. I don't know all the specifics on it, but from what I've heard is it's voidable. Like you said, if the Saints want to cut him next year, they can definitely backpedal out of that. So I think Sean Payton was doing that. Obviously, it's going to – I have no idea what that just was. I just had something – geez, that was an awful sound in my ear. Sean Payton with the contract, I think he was putting that out to kind of throw people off, maybe get the media to bite on it, maybe to get people to think, oh, wow, he's really going to go in on Taysom Hill. You got guys here in Atlanta. You got guys on radio saying, oh, maybe Taysom Hill is really showing something in camp to where he's going to for sure be the starter. And I do think Taysom Hill is capable of doing that, but I don't realistically see it going down that way. So it is interesting with Taysom because with also signing Jameis, you got to wonder, is Jameis going to be your $12 million a quarterback starter? It's probably an incentive. He's, probably like a Cam deal, probably getting paid about 5 or 6, and the rest is based on playoffs, accomplishments, things of that nature. And are you going to be paying a guy like Taysom Hill maybe more than receiver money, but less than quarterback money, if that makes sense, because you might want to put him in there? It's very interesting with the Saints, man. Personally, as a fan, I don't know. I was literally just saying 30 minutes before Drew announced it on Sunday that I thought Drew was coming back because he does it every year, and just something told me in the back of my mind Drew is coming back. The Saints are surprising me. Trey Hendrickson is with the Bengals. We're cleaning house, man. We're going in a lot of different directions, so I can't even begin to tell you what's going to happen. I just know I'm here for it, man.
Absolutely. And talk about Jameis a little bit. And I'm glad you brought up that comparison. You talked about Drew Brees' first 4 seasons compared to Jameis Winston's first 4 seasons. Jameis, 1-year deal, $12 million, as you described. Do you think this quarterback competition is going to be heated and close? Because Jameis Winston, a lot of people believe he deserves to be a starter in this league. I'm 50-50 on it. Do you think it's going to be one of the tightest quarterback races? Or do you even think they'll bring in potentially in the draft another quarterback? Or is the starting quarterback in camp right now?
The starting quarterback is definitely in camp right now, barring that the Saints make a move for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, which I don't see happening at this point. We're just doing our damnedest to get underneath the cap, and make sure we're going to come back with some guys next year and just be able to have some money to potentially spend. But in terms of, dang, man, I totally just lost my train of thought. In terms of there being a quarterback battle, I definitely do think there is going to be a heated quarterback battle because Taysom Hill, he's now got 4 games under his belt. We don't know if he was wanting to be a starter for the Saints, but now that he's got that chance, I'm sure he loved it. I'm sure he was enjoying to be able to actually drop back in the pocket and throw a pass. I'm sure he was enjoying leading the guys, being more than just hey, we need you here. Hey, we need you there. Hey, we need you there, because that can kind of feel demanding, a little tug and pull. You might grow a little resentment, not saying that could happen, but that it's not saying that was happening, but it's very possible. And now you remove him from that, hey, we need you here, that plug and play role. Now we need you to be the leader. Now we need you to be the captain. So I think Taysom, he's a competitor. He's a baller. He might be, he's one of the top athletes overall. Athletes, not players, before anybody gets it twisted. He's one of the top athletes in the NFL, and the tape speaks for itself. Your eyes don't lie to you. We know what Taysom Hill can do. And then you have Jameis Winston, a guy who's coming off his last season was 30 interceptions, has been promised to start eventually by Sean Payton. The only time he really saw the field was to kneel it against the Bucs when Drew got hurt, and God's sake, we put him in the playoffs to run the play that the Bears did. I mean, the Saints literally put in another quarterback to throw the football down the field. So, Jameis Winston definitely wants to get in there and wants to play because that's who he is. He's a former number 1 overall pick, Heisman winner, national champion. This guy still wants to play football. He was promised something by Sean Payton. So this quarterback battle is definitely going to be heated. And whoever comes out on top, well, they've proved to Sean Payton that they're the one to be the guy.
Absolutely. Adam, look, I think Taysom Hill's favored to win the quarterback battle.
I love it.
I do think that Jameis will overtake him just because of that. The reasons why. You got a guy, a former number 1 overall pick. You got a guy who, considered in many people's eyes, is a bust. A lot of people view Jameis Winston as a bust. They thought he would be all-world. They thought he would be a Pro Bowler year in, year out, leading his team to the playoffs. So I think a lot of that is sitting in Jameis's mind. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's learned a lot from Drew Brees being his backup. I think that helped him mold as a player and mature as a player. So I think that Jameis Winston will be a tight battle, will be the starting quarterback. But I do think because of the success, whether people like it or not, whether people like how Taysom Hill throws that ball or not, because we know there's a bunch of people who don't think he could throw consistently. There was success there, and Sean Payton knows that. So I think in Sean Payton's mind right now, the favorite is Taysom Hill, but I do think Jameis Winston, just being motivated, being a better passer, throwing a better deep ball, I think he changes some of his mechanics. I don't know if that laser eye surgery is going to help him with the turnover. Seriously, man, I'm assuming you can't get any worse than 30 interceptions. Last time we seen him as a starter. So I do think that if they don't draft a quarterback, Jameis Winston will be the starter. But it'll be a tight race. I can't wait to see how that plays out, Adam. I think it'll be a good race. And it's going to be crucial. It's going to be crucial because it's a Saints team that people can say what they want to say. Oh, they should have been to more Super Bowls. They're expected to make the playoffs next year. You guys have a pretty good roster. I know you guys cut some guys, but you still have a pretty good roster. Is your expectations, before we end it off, is your expectations playoffs, regardless of who's the quarterback next year?
I can't honestly say, bro, because here's why. We lost, and there's going to be people out there claiming that, oh, these players aren't that big. They weren't the playmakers on the Saints. But I promise everybody watching this video, you have not watched the New Orleans Saints like I have, especially the last 4 years in the NFL. Janoris Jenkins is gone. Trey Hendrickson is now at the Bengals. Malcolm Brown is out of there. We lost Josh Hill. We lost Jared Cook. We lost Emmanuel Sanders. We lost some guys, man. Like we did a little bit of housekeeping because we had to. We were over $100 million in debt. We had the least amount of money in the NFL, and we had to make up for it just to be able to go into next season and spend it. So honestly, man, it's going to be tough. I'll tell you this: every year the Saints come out a little flat in the beginning of the season. They'll come out. The first game will be okay. We haven't started 2-0 in like the last 4 or 5 seasons. Darren Waller cut us up with the Raiders the second game of the season this past year. So the Saints have the talent to be a great team, but when they come out flat, and now they're not going to have that depth of talent that they had so many, in so many past seasons. They're really going to have to be on top of things. They're not going to be able to have these pass interference penalties, and they're not going to be able to have these offsides and these unsportsmanlike conducts that we sometimes like to get, because now you're going to have less guys to fall back on. Now you're going to have less of a brotherhood behind you. Those guys are out the door. So now the people that are there, Saints are going to look at some other players like PJ Williams, for example. I do not like PJ at all. We're looking at Richard Sherman. Bringing in a guy like Richard Sherman would make me feel a lot more confident than what we have in the secondary right now. And that's just, one of the positions that I think we need to address. At least if it's not for talent, please get some veteran leadership in there, So saying the expectations for next year is tough because I really don't know what's still going to happen between now and week 1.